Before you judge me, listen till the end because what happened next changed not just my marriage, but the way I saw love, family, and loyalty forever. Backhand index pointing right if you think you've seen controlling mothers-in-law. Wait till you hear what mine did. My name is Elara Quinn, and I'm 34 years old. I never dreamed of fairy tale weddings or practiced my signature with someone else's last name in high school. While other girls were doodling hearts around initials, I was calculating compound interest and balancing part-time income against tuition fees. By the time I hit my 30s, I was a senior analyst at one of Boston's top investment firms. I had my own condo, a 401k I actually understood, and silence, the kind that wrapped around you like armor. No drama.
No mess.
Just peace and control. My younger sister, Haley, hated it. You don't even have a toothbrush that isn't electric, she used to joke. You've outsourced chaos from your life so much, it's sterile. Maybe she was right, but I didn't think much of it until she decided to fix my calm little world. It started over lunch at a noisy cafe. She pushed her phone across the table, showing me a picture of a man with an easy smile and soft brown eyes. His name's Liam Carter, she said. He used to work with me before he quit marketing. He cooks, volunteers, and she grinned. He doesn't find ambition intimidating. I nearly choked on my sparkling water. But Haley was relentless, and 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting across from Liam at a tiny Italian restaurant. He wasn't what I expected.
Calm.
Grounded. Sincere in a way that didn't feel performative. He listened, really listened, without trying to impress or compete. He told me he'd left the corporate grind to focus on life that actually feels like living. I'd spent my whole adult life chasing promotions, quarterly reports, and measurable success. He was the complete opposite, and it was disarming. 6 months later, we got married. It wasn't a grand wedding. Just close family, a few friends, and a vow that felt more real than any expensive ceremony could make it. We built a rhythm. He took care of our home, cooked, kept things alive and warm. I worked, earned, and provided the structure. It wasn't traditional, but it worked beautifully, quietly. Until his mother, Margaret Carter, decided it shouldn't. Margaret didn't dislike me quietly, she weaponized it. You work too much, she'd say, pursing her lips. What kind of wife doesn't cook for her husband? Or, that blouse looks too formal. Don't you own anything softer? Liam always defended me gently, saying, she just needs time. But time only sharpened her criticisms. She saw me as the woman who'd stolen her obedient son, her project, her purpose. Then came the invitation. Liam's younger brother, Ethan, was getting married. A weekend-long mountain lodge affair. Rustic theme. Candles. Mason jars. The full Pinterest fantasy. I didn't want to go, but Liam's excitement was contagious. He was looking forward to seeing his family, to the break, to the laughter. So we RSVP'd yes. I even bought a new dress. Haley was stunned. You? Taking a weekend off? I'll mark it in the history books. But 3 days before the wedding, everything changed. At 4 a.m., I woke up curled on the bathroom floor, gasping in pain so sharp it stole my breath. Liam found me there, pale and shaking. He didn't hesitate, just said, we're going to the hospital.
Now.
The ER lights blurred around me. Monitors beeped, voices murmured, hands moved fast. A CT scan later, the doctor walked in with the kind of calm that means bad news. Bleeding gastric ulcer, he said. Likely stress-related, worsened by caffeine and skipped meals. You're not going anywhere for at least 5 days. Liam's hand gripped mine. I'll let everyone know, he said softly. They'll understand. Just rest. I nodded weakly. Especially your mom.
Please don't.
Let her think I'm faking. He smiled. I'll handle it. 2 days later, I was doing better. The pain dulled, the fluids helped. Boredom, though, was unbearable. So I asked Liam to bring my laptop. I promise I won't overwork. Just a few emails. Maybe a spreadsheet. He hesitated but agreed. I was halfway through editing a client report when the hospital doors slammed open. I jumped. Standing there, framed by the doorway like a prosecutor, was Margaret. Tailored coat. Perfect hair. Eyes cold as polished glass. She scanned the room, then looked at me. "You look fine," she said flatly. "You're sitting up and typing. What's the emergency?" "Margaret," I said, trying to stay calm. "What are you doing here?" "I came to remind you the wedding starts tomorrow. We expect you there by noon." I blinked. "I'm not allowed to leave." "Liam told you I was admitted." "He said something about an ulcer," she sneered. "You seem perfectly functional to me." "I'm on intravenous fluids," I said quietly. "I can't walk unassisted." She crossed her arms. "You're on a laptop. If you can type, you can sit in a car." I shut the screen. "This is a hospital, Margaret. Please lower your voice." "Oh, don't give me that respectful environment nonsense," she snapped. "You're embarrassing this family. Missing your brother-in-law's wedding? Who does that?" "Someone under doctor's orders not to travel," I replied, voice steady. Her eyes narrowed. "No. Someone who doesn't care. Someone who uses health as an excuse." The words hit harder than I expected. The woman in the next bed stirred behind the curtain. Margaret leaned closer, her perfume sharp and suffocating. "If you don't show up tomorrow, Elara," she hissed, "don't bother coming back into this family." In fact, her lips curled. "Divorce my son. You don't deserve him." My heart pounded. Not from fear, from fury. I pressed the nurse call button, never breaking eye contact. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Getting
you removed," I said simply. "You're disturbing other patients." Seconds later, a nurse appeared, firm and unflinching. "Ma'am, you'll need to leave immediately." Margaret scoffed, muttered something about unbelievable theatrics, but finally turned on her heel and walked out. The door clicked shut behind her like a judge's gavel. I lay back, heart still racing. I didn't cry. I didn't text Liam. I could have easily told him everything. Let his mother's behavior blow up the wedding weekend. But I didn't. Because even after that humiliation, I still wanted to protect his peace. One last time. But somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. If you've ever had to deal with a toxic in-law, or had to choose silence to keep peace, you'll want to hear what happens next. Backhand index pointing right.
They say home is where healing begins. But when I stepped through that door after the hospital, I realized, some wounds don't close just because you survive them. Backhand index pointing right, stay till the end. You won't believe what was waiting on my kitchen table. 5 days after the hospital admitted me, they finally discharged me. The nurse gave me a list of medications, a diet plan that banned caffeine, and a warning that sounded more like prophecy. "Try to keep your stress low, Mrs. Quinn," she said kindly. "You don't want another ulcer." If only she knew what kind of stress waited at home. Liam arrived to pick me up with his usual warmth, but something in his eyes was different. Tired. Guarded. He helped me into the car, buckled my seatbelt like he always did, and kissed my forehead. "Ready to go home?" he asked softly. I nodded. More than ready. But as we drove through the quiet streets, the silence between us grew thicker than traffic ever could. No music. No small talk. Just the soft hum of the tires on asphalt. I should have known then, peace had already been broken. When we reached our apartment, the first thing I noticed was the smell. Not the comforting scent of home-cooked soup Liam usually made, but coffee. Strong, bitter, fresh. My stomach clenched. He opened the door for me, carrying my overnight bag. And that's when I saw her, Margaret Carter. Sitting at our kitchen table as if she owned it, posture perfect, hands folded neatly in front of her. A cup of steaming coffee rested beside her, untouched but deliberate, a prop for power. The sight of her hit harder than any hospital floor. I froze in the doorway. Liam's hand tightened briefly on my shoulder. "You're home," he said gently, almost like an apology. He took my bag, set it aside, and guided me to the couch. "I made soup," he added, smiling nervously. "Ginger and lemon. It's still warm." Before I could thank him, Margaret cleared her throat sharply. The sound made me flinch. "We need to talk," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, it didn't have to be. It carried command, the kind that expected instant obedience. I glanced at Liam, but he looked torn, caught between two loyalties he didn't ask for. Margaret reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a thick manila envelope. She slid it across the coffee table, the corner catching on the wood before stopping inches from my lap. The bold letters on the front read, "Elara Quinn." My stomach twisted again, but this time it wasn't the ulcer. Liam frowned. "Mom, what is this?" Margaret laced her fingers together, her nails gleaming like tiny weapons. "The next step," she said calmly. "The next step for what?" "For freeing my son." I blinked, confused, until she added, "Divorce papers." The word cracked the air open. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. Then I saw it, the cold, satisfied glint in her eyes. She'd already filled in the details. My name. His name. The dotted lines ready for signatures. Liam's face went pale. "You can't be serious." "She made a promise," Margaret said, tilting her chin toward me. "She said if she didn't show up to Ethan's wedding, she'd leave the family. So I'm here to help her keep her word." My voice was barely a whisper. "You came to the hospital 2 days before the wedding. You threatened me to show up or get out of his life." Liam turned to me, stunned. "You never told me that." "I didn't want to ruin your brother's wedding," I said quietly. "You deserved peace." Margaret scoffed. "Peace? I was trying to salvage your reputation, Liam." She humiliated you, pretending to be sick while sitting in bed with her laptop. "I was hospitalized with a bleeding ulcer," I snapped, anger flaring through the exhaustion. "Do you know what that means?" "You were upright," she shot back. "If you can type, you can attend a wedding. It's called priorities." Liam's voice broke through, calm but edged with warning. "Mom, stop. I'm protecting you," she hissed. "You fold her laundry, cook her meals, and what do you get in return? A tired look and tax forms. That's enough. She's not a wife, Liam, she's a user. She's made you her servant." "Stop it," he snapped, louder this time. But Margaret leaned forward, her words sharp enough to cut skin. "She's a parasite. You've forgotten who you were before her." I stood, weak legs trembling but voice strong. "No, Margaret." He didn't forget, he found himself. I picked up the envelope, flipping through the neatly printed pages. Every line was filled out, every space ready for our names. It was meticulous, like a hit job disguised as paperwork. Do you want me to prove something? I asked, my tone icy calm. Before Liam could answer, I grabbed the pen from the table and signed. One sweeping signature, bold, deliberate, final. Then I slid the papers back toward her. There, I said. I signed. Now it's your turn, Liam, not on paper, but with words. Choose. His face went white. Elara, what are you doing? You've been trying to stand between us for too long, I said softly. Now you can't. Say it. Right here. Right now. Margaret smirked, confident she'd won. He doesn't need to think. He's my son. I raised him. I built him. You just moved in and took credit. Liam looked torn, completely, painfully torn. I stayed silent. Margaret continued, voice rising. She's made you weak. You cook for her, clean for her, while she buries herself in spreadsheets and calls it love. The tension in the room coiled so tight, I could hear my heartbeat. And then, something shifted. Liam turned to me, eyes glassy but clear. His voice was quiet but unwavering. She didn't make me weak, Mom. She made me whole. Margaret flinched like he'd slapped her. You're not thinking clearly. I am, he said simply. For the first time. She stepped back, disbelief cracking her perfect posture. You're really choosing her, over your own mother? No, he said. I'm choosing peace. The silence that followed was deafening. Margaret's expression hardened, but her eyes flickered with something else. Fear. Loss. And that's when I realized, this wasn't about me at all. It was about control she was losing, piece by piece. But I wasn't finished yet. I took a slow breath and said the words that ended it all. You say he feeds me. He doesn't. I feed both of you. Her eyes went wide. Before she could speak, I continued, steady and calm. Liam left his job before we married. I told him I'd handle the finances so he could build the life around us. I pay the rent. The groceries. The gifts you brag about. Even your bills. Liam winced but didn't deny it. I paid your heating last winter. Your overdraft twice. And the catering for Ethan's rehearsal dinner went on my card. Margaret's lips parted, but no sound came out. I looked her dead in the eye. You called me a parasite, Margaret. But you've been eating from my table this whole time. They say time heals everything. But sometimes, time just sharpens the blade. Backhand index pointing right, stay till the end, because the moment I stopped caring, is the moment everything changed. For 3 days after Margaret left, the house was too quiet. No ringing phone. No footsteps pacing the hall. Just silence, heavy and strange, like the pause after an explosion. Liam tried to act normal. He cooked breakfast, cleaned the kitchen, asked about my medication. But every word felt like it was walking on eggshells. And every night, I caught him standing by the window, phone in hand, unread messages glowing on the screen. His mother hadn't called again, but she didn't need to. Her words still echoed through the walls like ghosts that refused to leave. On the 4th morning, I made a choice. I got up early, dressed, and started packing a small suitcase. Clothes, passport, medication, laptop, nothing more. When Liam walked into the bedroom, still rubbing sleep from his eyes, his voice cracked a little. What are you doing? I didn't look up. I booked a ticket. He froze. For where? Anywhere that isn't here. He moved closer, confusion turning into panic. Wait, no, we can talk about this. We're okay now, right? I zipped the bag slowly. Liam, we haven't been okay for a long time. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. I stood up for you. I chose you. I know, I said softly. But you shouldn't have had to choose. He looked up, pain flickering in his eyes. So this is it. I hesitated, not because I doubted my choice, but because leaving him still hurt. You once told me love was about peace. And right now, this house feels like a battlefield that's already lost its war. He stood, walked over, and took my hand. Elara, please. I'll fix it. I'll talk to her, I cut him off gently. That's the thing, Liam. You shouldn't have to fix your mother. Or me. He let go, his shoulders slumping under invisible weight. Where will? Sometimes, closure doesn't come in person. It arrives in an envelope. Backhand index pointing right, stay till the end, because what she wrote wasn't an apology. It was a confession. It had been 6 weeks since I left. New city. New apartment. A quiet little space near the coast, where the ocean replaced the sound of old arguments. I'd started working remotely again, spreadsheets and meetings, the familiar rhythm of solitude. Most days, I didn't think about Liam. But on the nights when the sea was too quiet, I did. Then one morning, a small beige envelope slipped through my door. No return address. Just my name, Elara Quinn, written in sharp, elegant handwriting I instantly recognized. Margaret. For a moment, I considered throwing it away. But something in me hesitated, maybe curiosity, maybe something softer I didn't want to name. I opened it. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper, faintly scented with her perfume, expensive, familiar, cold. But the first line made me sit down. I was wrong. I read it slowly, each word heavy with a kind of pain I hadn't expected from her. You were right, Elara. Control is not love, it's fear, dressed in pearls. When I lost my husband, Liam was all I had left that made sense. I didn't know how to love him without owning every piece of his life. I thought if I kept him close, I could keep myself from disappearing too. And then you arrived, kind, calm, confident. You didn't steal him. You freed him. I hated you for that freedom. Because I never learned how to live without control. But now I understand, he was never mine to protect. He was just mine to love, and I failed at both. My hands trembled as I kept reading. He hasn't been the same since you left. Not broken, just quieter. Like someone waiting for a sound that doesn't come. I'm leaving, Elara. Selling the house, moving to the countryside. I don't deserve to ask for forgiveness, only to give it. Take care of him, if you ever find your way back to each other. Or don't. Just live. That would be enough. At the bottom, one line stood alone, smaller than the rest. Freedom costs less than control, but it's harder to earn. I sat there for a long time, staring at her handwriting. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just quiet understanding, and a deep, aching sadness. It wasn't just me and Liam who'd been trapped. Margaret had been, too, by her own fears, her own losses. And for the first time, I realized something I never thought I would. Sometimes, Even monsters were just broken hearts wearing armor. That night, I walked along the shore, the letter folded neatly in my coat pocket. The wind was cold, but it felt honest, like a truth I could finally breathe in. As the waves crashed against the rocks, I whispered a silent goodbye. Not to Margaret. To the version of myself that kept fighting to be understood. I didn't need anyone's permission to heal anymore.
They say love is about holding on, but sometimes the real power is in knowing when to let go. Backhand index pointing right, stay till the end, because the last line might just make you question your own definition of love. 3 months after Margaret's letter arrived, life had begun to feel still. Not peaceful, not chaotic, just suspended. Like I was waiting for a sign I didn't believe would come. I'd settled into my coastal apartment, decorated it with muted blues and soft whites. The kind of place people heal in, or hide. Then, one rainy evening, there was a knock on my door. 3 soft taps. Familiar rhythm. When I opened it, there he was, Liam. Drenched from the storm, eyes tired but steady. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at me like he was trying to remember how to breathe. "Elara," he said finally, voice low. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. The sound of rain followed him, like an echo. He looked around, the books stacked neatly, the sea view through the foggy window. "You always pick places with quiet," he said softly. I smiled faintly. It's the only thing that never lies. We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us. He placed a small wooden box on it. "I found this after she left," he said. Inside were a few photos, a piece of jewelry, and a note, addressed to both of us. "To Liam and Elara. If you're reading this, then you both survived me. Don't waste that gift fighting over the past. Build something new, or walk away clean. Either way, do it with peace." Liam exhaled, eyes glassy. "She meant it this time," he said. "She really left." I nodded slowly. "I know. She wrote to me." He blinked. "She did." I told him about the letter, the apology, the admission, the regret. He was quiet for a long moment, then whispered, "She never said sorry to me. But maybe that was her way." We sat in silence, listening to the storm outside. Finally, he looked at me. "I've missed you," he said simply. "Not the idea of us. You." My throat tightened. "I've missed you too," I admitted. "But missing someone isn't the same as being ready for them." He nodded. "I know. But I had to see if the door was still open." I looked at the door behind him, the one he'd walked through drenched and uncertain. And for the first time, I realized something. He wasn't the same man I'd married. And I wasn't the same woman who had signed those papers out of rage. We had both been burned. But we had also both learned how to stand in the fire and not let it consume us. I stood, walked to the window, and pulled the curtain aside. The rain was easing, the horizon breaking into faint light. Without turning, I said quietly, "Liam, what do you really want?" He didn't hesitate. "A chance. Not to fix what we were, to build something honest from what's left." I turned, studying him. He meant it. But something in me had shifted too far to ever go back. I walked over, took his hand, and placed the wooden box back in it. "You deserve that chance," I said softly. "But not with me. With someone who doesn't remind you of everything that went wrong." His jaw trembled, but he nodded. "This isn't goodbye forever," he said, voice breaking. "No," I whispered. "It's just the goodbye we didn't get the first time." He leaned forward, kissed my forehead, and walked out. No pleading. No tears. Just peace, quiet, heavy peace. The next morning, I mailed Margaret's letter back to him. On the envelope, I wrote only one sentence. "Freedom costs less than control, but it's harder to earn." Then I walked down to the beach, let the waves crash over my feet, and realized for the first time in years I wasn't waiting for anything. Not an apology. Not approval. Not love that hurt to keep. I had finally learned the difference between losing someone and finding yourself. If you were Elara, would you have taken him back? Or walked away for good? Speech balloon, tell me in the comments, because something is not ending.